AM 1240 and 95.3 FM WJON. Lee Voss filling in for Jay Caldwell. And joining me, Star Tribune sports columnist Jim Souhan. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Lee.
What a weekend for sports, I tell you. Let's start with the Olympics. Saturday, the men's gold medal game against France. Very exciting finish. Steph Curry going off, and American men capture the gold.
First time in Olympic history that the women's, and men's basketball finals were contested between the same team. So obviously the first time that same team had to play on basically road game for the gold medal in both U.S. men and U.S. women both win. Both games tight, both exciting. I thought the men and women would both win gold, but that is a challenge to play good French teams on a French court under those circumstances. The men did what they needed to do. I thought LeBron was spectacular all throughout the Olympics. He showed so much, heart and pride. He was such a leader. That was fun to watch. Anthony Edwards certainly played well. Not a starring role, but he played well, and this is probably another really good step in his development to spend 3 weeks with these people. As John Krasinski said on our podcast, Ant's the kind of guy who isn't afraid to go up to LeBron and ask him, about his training techniques or why he takes a certain shot in certain situation. He's also had exposure to Steve Kerr and Mark Few and Eric Spoelstra. That's probably all really good stuff. The women, it was an amazing game. And obviously, the U.S. wins by 1 point, in part because Gabby Williams had a foot on the line when she threw up the last-second desperation shot and banked in. Crazy basketball. I didn't think the United States played very well. I didn't think they got into their offense very effectively. They didn't even look comfortable bringing the ball up sometimes. I thought you saw the difference between a team that always plays together and a team that got thrown together. And the United States, just barely did enough. But that's 8 straight golds. Winning streak is up in the 60s now. So it's hard to complain about a victory.
I didn't even see who was the MVP of both men's and women's tournament.
I don't think I checked. I'll check while we're talking here.
I thought it should go to LeBron personally, but then Steph Curry comes out and absolutely, is on fire.
I thought that it was LeBron. Steph Curry had 2 great games, but I really thought it was LeBron who was kind of the leader, and I thought LeBron started the comeback against Serbia in the semifinals. Steph was remarkably good the last 2 games, but it depends on how you look at it. If you're looking at who was the best in the middle games, you probably have to give it to Steph, but I would have given it to LeBron.
I was really impressed with the women's team from France. They gave the Americans everything that they could handle, and just like you said, such an exciting finish, but they really battled.
They did, and as I have been saying all along, the U.S. should win. They have the best players. But it is a different challenge to throw a group of stars together and try to figure out how it's going to work, as opposed to a national team where these people have been playing together all their lives. By the way, A'ja Wilson was the MVP for the women, and LeBron was the MVP for the men. And A'ja Wilson, in the women's game, they didn't block out very well. They got beat on the offensive boards. They didn't look sure where they wanted, once again, lack of familiarity. They didn't look like they were sure where they wanted to go for their shots, where France knew exactly how to run their offense and what shots they wanted to get and who they wanted taking them. And I thought that, A'ja Wilson just wasn't very efficient. She's a great player. She might be the best player in the world, two-time reigning champion at WNBA, but she just wasn't efficient inside. And when they'd run their offense, get the ball inside, and A'ja wouldn't make the shot or draw a foul, that kind of levels the playing field. So she ended up being the MVP overall because she had a very productive Olympics, but I thought she almost cost them the gold medal game.
Boy, it was really hard to get used to the international rules, all the grabbing and shoving and just, the physicality of the international game.
Yeah, it is a much more physical game, and that is another thing that Americans have to adapt to. And you're also allowed to there's no defensive 3 seconds, so you can leave your centers in the paint and kind of muddy up the game that way, too. So it is a different game, and it does take adjustment. But the United States, their talent won out. They have enough talent to overcome all of those things.
I guess I was speaking as a fan and watching it on TV. I'm like, that's a foul. That's a foul. But yeah.
But there's, as we know, watching the NBA and college and everything else, I mean, there's almost no good answer, is there? It's like if you call every foul, then the game never gets any flow. It stops every 15 seconds. People get in foul trouble. The best players foul out. It's hard to watch. And if you don't call the fouls, then it looks like these games where it looks like mud wrestling. So I actually feel for basketball officials. They really can't win.
The medal controversy is not over in women's gymnastics. Jordan Childs being asked to return her bronze medal. What do you make of this whole deal?
I just think they must be afraid of setting a precedent. The easy answer here is just give them both bronze medals. I mean, who would complain about that? Name me one person in the world who would complain about both of these athletes who, both have a good claim on the bronze medal, each getting a bronze medal. I just don't, and I think sometimes big bureaucracies don't like to set precedents. They have trouble changing anything they do. They don't want to break it. They don't want to break their previous precedents. But wouldn't that just be the easiest answer? And wouldn't everybody go home happy?
It's not unprecedented, right? Because in women's pole vaulting, there was double gold awarded.
Right. So it can happen. Yeah. And I think what they don't want to do is encourage protests. I mean, they don't want to encourage. And pole vault, you can actually just tie. This wasn't really a tie. It really is a decision on whether or not Childs should get credit for that extra, for that extra point that the United States thought that she should get. So I get it. I understand that you don't want to encourage widespread protest every time there's a close finish in gymnastics. But in this particular case, with it going back and forth, I think that's the right decision.
All right, switching gears a little bit, the Twins split a 4-game series with the Cleveland Guardians. Festa yesterday struggled to get through 4 innings. What's your take on the team right now?
I mean, obviously it's a missed opportunity. They had a chance. I mean, I went in saying that the realistic, optimal outcome of this series was win 3 out of 4, gain 2 games in the standings, leave a game and a half behind going into the Royal Series. And they came very close to doing that. They didn't finish it off. Just didn't, not enough good at-bats from people other than Byron Buxton yesterday. Didn't get the big hit on Saturday. Bullpen wasn't very good yesterday. Also, Cleveland just also did a great job of finding a way to get soft hits. They took really good at-bats. You kind of see why they've been able to overachieve this year. They take good at-bats. They're hard to pitch to. They catch the ball. They have an excellent bullpen. Then yesterday they load the bases in the 9th, can't get a run home. So, if you're a Twins fan, you probably are highly frustrated by the last 2 days, and you probably should be. But we still got a long way to go here. 7 weeks. And now the Royals come into town, and they better not have a letdown because the Royals are right on their heels, and the Royals are really good, and the Royals have 3 excellent pitchers lined up. This series might be, on paper, tougher than the Cleveland series because you're facing 3 outstanding starting pitchers, and you're not even sure you're going to start on the mound Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah,
it's going to be games are going to be more and more important here as we make our way through August. The Vikings had their first preseason game over the weekend, and of course, the big talk is J.J. McCarthy. I know you wrote a column over the weekend on McCarthy, and I thought you spelled it out well that hey, it's encouraging, but don't expect him to get the starting job anytime soon.
Yeah, and this is coming from people I know who know what's going on over there. I mean, O'Connell pretty much has said in the organizational meetings that he doesn't want to rush McCarthy, that Darnold's here for a reason, that he really wants to coach the heck out of McCarthy before McCarthy ever steps on an NFL field. So the real question is, is it, and I also think Nick Mullins has a chance to be the backup if they decide McCarthy isn't ready to back up at the beginning of the season. So I thought McCarthy looked great. I think all the signs around him are positive. He also, that the interception he threw in the game is the kind of mistake he's been making in training camp. I know if you watch, if you see certain videos and fans posting things about McCarthy on the internet, you get the sense that he's had a perfect camp and every throw is right on. And he's a superstar. He's still making mistakes. So sure. I think Darnold is going to be the starter. and I think they're going to try to do everything they can not to rush McCarthy, but I also think they love McCarthy. So it's not a negative development. I think they love the guy. I think they think he's going to be really good. They just have a plan in place.
The cornerback situation continues to be a problem.
Yeah, well, Murphy's a good player, not a great player.
He can't play on the outside, it seems.
He's better on the inside. He's a useful player is probably the best way to put it. But you got to find the right spots for him. Griffin is a pretty good player later in his career dealing with injuries. And it's a real sign of trouble when you bring in Fabian Moreau, who is out on the street, and he immediately becomes your third cornerback. That tells you how much faith they have in the other guys out there. So now they're meeting with Stephon Gilmore probably today, it sounds like. I've been saying all along, and I do a podcast with Jeff Diamond, the former Vikings general manager. We've both been saying all along that Stephon Gilmore will be perfect here. And if they don't sign him, I would almost take it as a sign that they're just not trying that hard to win this year.
Who's in line, do you think, to be the third receiver? Does Jalen Naylor doing enough right now that he'll lock it down, or is he still battling Powell?
I think Naylor is the third receiver. I think Powell is the fourth receiver, and I think Jackson is the rising receiver who could push one or the other or back up if either is injured. Powell is a really nice fourth receiver because he's a veteran. He's smart. He knows how to get first downs. He runs after the catch. But he's not, extremely talented. He's not a great downfield receiver. Jackson can do those things, as I saw again on Saturday. So I think between situational packages and injuries and everything else, I think all three of those guys could get a reasonable amount of playing time. But I think Naylor is the third receiver.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to another one next weekend. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I know you've got a lot of content up on talknorth.com, your podcasts out there. What's the latest?
We did a full slate last week. We'll start it up again this week with Don Mitchell's show. We've added Randy Shaver on high school football. It's his passion. He loves that stuff. It's also his shows are going up on YouTube now. We have Don Mitchell with great interviews, a lot of the time with women journalists and women athletes, but we don't just limit ourselves to that. Chin Music with Roy and Lavelle, Russo on hockey, Krasinski on basketball, Diamond on football, John Millay on preps, Kevin Gorg on hockey, and we have outdoor content as well.
No, a lot to memorize there.
Yeah, I know. I can never remember all of it.
All right, Jim. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Lee.
All right. That's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us here on the Morning News Watch. Jim's appearance being brought to you by the Green Mill of downtown St. Cloud. ABC News on the